I feel like you've had a rough time of it.
I got E. coli. 2 types of E. coli in Mexico.
Wait, can I ask you a question about the E. coli, which is like, did you actually drink tap water in Mexico?
I did not drink tap water in Mexico.
Okay.
So, here is what happened. This is what I think happened.
Okay.
Is the first place that we went to was a taco joint.
Uh-huh.
And I knew only cooked foods,
Yeah.
no tap water, only bottled water.
Yeah.
But then the taco place said, "Would you like some aguas frescas?" And I got really excited about aguas frescas because it's like horchata, which is very good.
Yeah.
But guess what that is? Tap water mixed with things. And so I think I just like didn't fucking think in that moment.
Yeah.
Especially because it's at a restaurant, right? Of like, I didn't kind of take thinking one step further.
So you did drink tap water in Mexico.
But it wasn't like
It wasn't like you went up and ordered tap water. And, yeah. I don't know that I would have known that, to be fair. I don't think you should feel bad about that.
Yeah. I don't feel bad about it. It sucks because it was literally the first day. So then the rest of the trip, my stomach was a wreck. But
you said other people also on the trip got it?
A little bit, not as bad as I did though. But anyways, are we ready for today's episode?
I think we are. Pew, 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 pew. That was a laser sound. Hi, I'm Bridget.
And I'm Maddie. Welcome to Baddy Breakdowns, where we hang out, have fun, and play games all the way to the end. Today we're going to talk about Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. We'll give you the breakdown from its creation to its critical reception. Then we'll take you on a deep dive into the game as we share our own experiences and opinions while playing it. We'll close with if we recommend it, who we'd recommend it to, and last but not least, our personal rating. With that, let's go to the center of a maze. Is that okay? I just made that up on the spot.
I could tell.
Let's riff some other ones. What are some other ones? With that, let's
get
uncover
lost.
The story. With that, let's get lost. With that,
I don't know.
See, and you're giving me shit. You can't come up with anything.
Okay, there is a different skill set between criticism and being able to create. Let's play the game.
Okay. All right, game description, Bridget.
Okay, so the description I pulled off of Steam, and it is just exactly what I would expect. I'll just read it. The stage is set. Imagine an old Baroque manor, perhaps a hotel or a museum, somewhere in Central Europe. A woman wanders in search of answers. That's
good.
It. Yeah,
great.
That's all. Yeah, which I mean, that's kind of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So not wrong. I a lot of times I look at these descriptions and I'm like, what am I supposed to get out of this in order to want to purchase it? Because half the time we're purchasing these games, Maddie, it's because we've pre-decided to purchase them. So the description doesn't matter.
Yeah.
When I look at that, I'm like, would I play this game? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah. But it is like vibey with the rest of the game, which is you don't really know what's going on and you are in search of answers. You have no idea what's happening. So it's accurate. But that's all I got for you today. I think to help the people listening actually know what this game is, it's like a walking sim puzzler. Like, it's just a ton of puzzles everywhere. You look around, there's 10 more puzzles there to meet you. I don't know how you can trim that out, Maddie, because that was poorly said, but it is a very old school looking game. It's black and white with a little bit of red, and it is very heavy in the puzzles, and that's really all it is.
Yeah. Should we get into how it's made?
Yeah, do it.
So this game was created by Simogo Studios, which is a studio in Sweden, and it was published by Annapurna, who has a publishing contract with Simogo, so they're going to publish their next couple of games, actually. Oh. And the studio was founded by Simon Flesser and Magnus Gordon Gardback. And Simogo is literally their two names stuck together. So it's Sim from Simon. And then O is Swedish for and then Go for Gordon. So it's
that's
Simogo.
So cute.
It's very cute.
I love that.
Their last game was Sayonara Wild Hearts, which I actually didn't play, but it got really good reviews. And it's
I've
on
heard
my
really
list.
good things about it. Maybe we should get to it at some point.
Yeah. And coming off of that game, which was very colorful, more fast-paced, they really wanted something different from an art direction perspective. Simon had specifically said that Sayonara's colorfulness was actually quite challenging for him because he said he has trouble with colors. I don't know what that really means, but he said it multiple times.
They can be overwhelming to people. I clearly don't have that problem. I have the opposite, but they can be overwhelming and kind of chaotic feeling, you know?
Yeah. So he said that, so he knew, even before they even knew what next game they wanted to make, they knew they wanted to make it in black and white. He was like, next game is in black and white. I'm over these colors. And he also wanted a game that was a lot slower and more thoughtful. So that was kind of the initial table setting for approaching Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. And then when they started kind of digging into it and wanting to create out the whole game and what they wanted to make, given that they wanted something more slow, thoughtful, they really were into this kind of surrealist tone. And the game's tone and story was inspired by a 1961 French film called The Last Year in Marienbad. Or The Last Year at Marienbad, depending on what translation you find. And which is just very artsy. It's like a black and white French film. And the characters, I went to the Wikipedia for this film because I was like, okay, what's this movie about? The characters are unnamed. And in the description of what it's about, it says it's maybe about a woman who maybe had an affair and her maybe husband tries to assert dominance over the other guy by beating him at math games.
What?
So
I'm having war flashbacks to my French film class I had to take in college. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was like, okay, so none of the characters are named, and this whole plot is literally maybe it's about this.
Maybe
Why she has a husband, but they don't ever actually say if he's the husband. Maybe she had an affair, but they don't actually say it.
I feel those vibes here. That feels right.
Yeah. I was like, okay, yes, especially with math games, beating him, asserting dominance.
I was like, that's a little too on the
via
nose.
math games. I was like, okay, or mathematics or whatever. So the other thing that's really interesting about Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, as they started putting constraints as they were designing the game, is they really specifically wanted to create a dynamic and complex game with very minimal input. So the challenge is that you can actually play this with one hand. They specifically designed it so that you could play it with one hand. So it's really interesting that they specifically were we wanted anybody to be able to pick up the controller. It's not about complexity via input control. Although I do have issues.
I have so many issues, and I feel bad saying them.
Areas, which I think we'll probably get into.
We will definitely get into
accessible that is, because it's but to be fair, it's not about the input that's accessible. It's the way the input is in the game. Anyway, I just thought that was very
Beautiful.
interesting. Like, you could play, anybody could pick up this controller, anybody can play it. It's really not about complex controls or button combinations or whatever.
Yeah.
And they also admitted that most people would probably not finish this game because it was so complicated. He was like, I am totally prepared for that to be the case. So it's really interesting because I wonder, did we get an achievement for finishing? I wonder what the percentage on that is. I'm just
that's
curious.
a question. There is like one for correctly answering the brothers' questions, which is required in order to finish. And that's sitting at a 20% right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is minimal.
Yes. And like the I'm trying to see if there are I don't see anything else. So at least one of the late game blocking things in my speed reading, maybe I'll find the thing later. But the blocking thing near the end game is only at 20%. So that's a pretty low percent for people who start it, I think.
Yeah. That is pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And it's required to get to the end, and it's right near the end. So I feel like that's a pretty reasonable, like if you've made it that far, you'll probably finish it, you know? Interesting. Sorry. Continue.
Anyways, so they did this like very simple controls, and then they also very specifically had this idea of like always forward is what he said the design principle was, which is why there's no dang back buttons. That's very specifically designed. Because
you know what? You can say it's specific all you want, but it was bad. We can get there. I hate that.
So it's really no, I know it's really interesting that they, because that was going to be one of my main criticisms of the game, and then knowing that they kind of, I mean, they specifically designed it that way, and the thing that they wanted to do is they wanted to force players to commit to their choice. That's like one of the reasons why they didn't have any back buttons, and that's the always forward. Like you're always moving forward. And then lastly, they specifically designed all the puzzles to have random elements so that you couldn't just look up at the answer, which I thought was really interesting.
Yes, I really liked that. Yeah.
I did like that. And he said that, so this interview was with Simon, who did all of the interviews for this game. I couldn't find an interview with Magnus, so it feels like Simon's kind of the interview guy. But he did say that he really wanted it to be that if you looked at a guide, you had to understand the puzzle. So even if you're looking at a guide, you end up understanding the puzzle because you can't just look up the answer. And you have to understand the puzzle for yourself, which I thought was really cool. The very last thing I'll mention is that the game engine was Unity. I didn't really see much about it, but just as a point of interest.
Huh. That is interesting. I'm excited to talk about this one. Okay, wait. Let's critical reception, and then let's just get to it. Yes?
Yep.
Okay. So critical reception, 10 out of 10 Steam, 9 out of 10 IGN, 10 out of 10 GameSpot. I also looked at one of the, I don't know, on our games, they post like review threads very frequently for new games when they come out. And they're pretty much all within the 8 to 10 range. There was one critic who gave it a 5 out of 10. And I went ahead and I clicked through. I did my due diligence and I clicked through to read what it was. And the phrase that they had on like the face out, I feel like still captured it, which is they were a little upset about having to headbutt puzzles nonstop. So like I don't know what this guy was.
That's like, amazing though, because you
I
were
don't know
having
that this
to
puzzle
headbutt
game was
puzzles
for him.
nonstop.
He was like, it gets in the way of the story, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe not the game for you, buddy.
That's kind of what the game is. Yeah, I think that's just like not for you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. On Steam, it was overwhelmingly positive. Like I said, 10 out of 10 with 96%. Only 899 reviews, which I know is still like a lot, but not a ton, you know. The positives and the negatives were interesting because I think that this game is going to be very dependent on both like the kind of puzzles you enjoy and how good you are at them, maybe, and how good you are at putting up with the frustration. The positives were across the board. A lot of people really enjoyed the atmosphere of the game. Like you said, it's very distinct. It's surreal, black and white, all that kind of fun stuff. People were very appreciative of that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people did enjoy the difficulty, which they said was high, of the puzzles. And they related a lot of the puzzles themselves to like escape rooms or those IQ logic puzzles and math puzzles and things like that, which I thought were pretty accurate. The positive quotes that I just pulled a few that I thought were pretty funny, honestly. So the first one this one was a little less funny, and there was a huge review alongside with it. So props to the person who wrote this one, but they are like, this game is impossible to recommend, but that won't stop me from recommending it anyway. And they had so much content around how the game itself was just so like you had no idea what you were doing the whole entire time, and the story was everywhere all over the place and you weren't sure what's going on, and the puzzles themselves were everywhere and nowhere at the same time, and so they're like, it's very impossible for me to recommend this, but I'm still definitely going to. And I thought that was fun. One that is actually more just funny was, I might be too stupid for this game, and then in parentheses they put positive, which I thought was really funny. And then this last one was something that I feel like I did once to you, Maddie, and I'm sure you did back to me plenty, but it was like, I may die before figuring out the shortcut door gimmick. And then there was an edit, and it was like, edit, I figured it out. I don't deserve to play video games. I definitely felt that myself, so I thought that was pretty funny. But like, the positive, what I'm trying to say is the positive reviews, they were having a good time with the game, but they still acknowledged that it was a hard game. The negative reviews were so heated. Oh my God. They were so heated. Like, when people didn't like this game, it wasn't just like, man, not for me. It was like people with this rage inside them that I assume has to
it's
do.
because they felt stupid.
100%.
100%. So. 100%.
I feel like that's probably where this rage is coming from. So I tried to like pull through them and find some people who disliked it for being too hard. And I did find one that disliked it for being too easy. So I tried to be like holistic about this nonsense. Not nonsense. People cannot like a game. I just mean it was funny to see like the way that people phrase these things. So one of the people who disliked it, I pulled a blurb from it, which is, if you have played through The Witness or the Talos Principle and thought, I wish I could get a version of this that would make Albert Einstein sweat, purchase Lorelei and the Laser Eyes immediately. If you're anyone else,
makes me
please
feel smart
trust
to
me.
hear these reviews.
Yeah, your time is better spent elsewhere. So yes, you should feel smart, Maddie, for finishing the game, because a lot of people could not do that. Especially, I mean, we're looking at that 20% on the screen.
I feel like I texted you so much at the end, which we'll talk about, but it was mainly just for pep talks. Like, I looked back and you weren't giving me
messages. No. I absolutely was not doing anything for you.
I was literally... anyways.
Yeah, we'll get there. Okay, and then the last little quote was from somebody who disliked it, but they said it was too easy.
Ooh.
And so I thought that I would give this one. So it says, basically, if you do like puzzles, no matter what form they take, and don't particularly care about the setting or the story the game is trying to sell you in the background, then go ahead and give this a try. Wild statement, but I'll continue. Just be warned that a lot of what this game considers a puzzle is probably not what you're looking for. If your goal is to stimulate your mind with a problem that has a logical solution that you need to think through. So they were literally just like, all of the puzzles were so, like, this was one like brief thing of it, but it was literally like, these puzzles were so easy, I didn't have to think at all. They were all just the same thing. They were on the screen, like all this kind of stuff. And so it was really interesting seeing that take. And I have some thoughts as we get into it as somebody who does a lot of puzzles. But anyway, that take was interesting. And then the one thing that I will note that was universal across all the positives and all the negative reviews were how much everyone hated the controls. Everyone.
Amazing.
I did not see one person go, wow, I really appreciate that they did this for aesthetics or nostalgia or whatever. Every single person was like, please, dear God, this was awful. Even the people who really like the game, they're like, but also this control scheme was awful. So I thought I'd call that out.
Yeah. I mean, they made it, it's like so simple that it made it hard.
Oh, no, it was, we'll get
like
into
from
it.
an input perspective, you know what I mean?
It was so wildly against how people are used to playing video games at this point that everything felt counterintuitive, which made it so much harder to do. Not to mention there were a lot of quality of life things that they could have done and still made it one-handed that they did not do that I think would have made it better. But we can get there when we get there.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Let's
anyway,
just
so
dive in.
that's the reception.
Yeah. Yay! Yeah, let's dive in. I think there's so much cool stuff to talk about with this game and really interesting stuff. So, first impressions, Bridget.
But I just talked so much.
Okay, you want me to go? Okay.
Yeah.
First impressions, me. So,
Excellent.
my first impression was that it was very noir. So that's why I was like,
Yeah.
oh, French film inspiration.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Very noir. The tampons in the purse really stuck out to me as like one of the first things that I noticed.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know if you got there, but the radio tuning, did you like mess around with the car radio at all at the beginning?
I did mess around with it, but I don't honestly remember what that interaction was.
It was just like I just really thought it was fun because you like tuned it with your stick.
Oh,
Like you would
very
tune a
old,
radio,
yeah.
like literally like doing the circles, which I thought was really fun. And they had good radio stations. Like I went through all of the radio stations. So they like took the time to do that, even though it's this very minuscule part of the game at the very beginning only, really, that you would do that. And I also thought that the game manual was really clever in order to set expectations. I loved it. Are you going to tell me you hated it? Because
no, I'm
going
to tell you a different thing about it, but it wasn't hate. It was complete obliviousness. I picked it up and I didn't realize it had multiple pages. I did this like honestly with every single thing in the game that had multiple pages. For some reason, the way that the UI was laid out, I could not tell that it was multiple pages. And it wasn't until I was on arrow. I couldn't see it. Like it just didn't. I don't know.
What did you play this on? I played it on my ROG.
I played it on my ROG. I just the way that the UI was set up, I literally just did not recognize at all.
Yeah.
No, and so eventually I found it on one thing and I was like, "Oh, okay, some of these things have multiple pages." And even after recognizing that things had multiple pages, I still did not see it. And so there were some puzzles where I didn't make it to the second page until I was like, "This is ridiculous. How am I supposed to do it?" Like the moon puzzle at the end, where I finally like tried to the side. I'm like, "Oh my god, this has multiple pages." So like this thing, it was cool when I found it. You want to know when I actually read the manual other than that first page? Probably 17 hours in.
Wow.
And I was like, oh.
So the thing that I really liked about the manual is that one, it like prepped you for the purpose of the game, which is something that I think games don't do enough. And I thought it was really clever the way that they did it. Because they were like, the purpose of this game is to explore and try to figure out what happened. Like they tell you what you're trying to do because it is so open and it's like you get to decide. It like sets your expectations right at the beginning that there's not really like a one set thing. It's like you're trying to figure out what happened here, right? Mm-hmm. And it's something that I wish more games did, and I thought the way they did it was super clever, especially on these games where they want people to figure it out themselves. I want them to just tell me that so that I'm not like looking for an objective or feeling super lost or feeling that way. Like I thought that was very clever. And I also liked that they said that like you're going to need a pen and paper because boy did I. Like boy did I. I actually stopped putting them in my physical notes cuz I was like I don't want to take up my whole journal with like not stupid. Like my insane notes of everything. Yeah. And so I ended up putting them on like separate pages of things. But you really do need a pen and paper. And then I did already note at the beginning that the not having a back button was very annoying. Yes. I was like, right away. I was like, no back button is annoying. And then you can pet the dog. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah. I vibe with like the aesthetics. Definitely caught my attention right away. The aesthetics were so strong that I feel like a dumbass, but when I first loaded up the game, I sat there for like 10 seconds thinking that it was going to be a cutscene. I literally
Oh.
just sat there and then I was like, oh, am I supposed to be moving? And I did. So like I feel like the aesthetics were very
There's
strong.
very little cutscenes in this game.
Very, very little, and they're very obvious.
Yeah.
So I very much so just didn't understand what I was getting into, but I just sat there for a second. But I think that it speaks to the strength of the aesthetic. The music itself, I loved. It was super haunting, was the word that I put down for it. Is the music just felt like I
like it
I was
too.
in a situation that was uncomfortable. And there was something about it. Like the line I put was, I feel like I'm getting ready for a fucking journey. It just it felt big and confusing. I don't know how they did that within music. I just really appreciated it. It was such a overwhelming feeling. And then that in conjunction with the surrealism of the art style very much so felt like I was getting ready for something I wasn't totally prepared for, which was kind of a fun feeling. The controls I also noticed almost immediately, and the movement, they did the thing in this game where the camera angle moves as you walk. And I have a hard time with that. It like gives me whiplash and like spatial reasoning nonsense. I just have a really hard time with it. And I got used to it as I spent, 19 or whatever hours in this game. But I did notice that pretty quickly. And I'm like, oh no, it's one of these where I've got to like keep aligned of like where I came from and where I'm going and how everything fits together. And I know like I can see why they did that because of the way that the game worked and all that kind of stuff. I just didn't. It gave me whiplash a little bit right at the beginning, but I was very excited to get started whenever I got the actual, and here, okay, literally in my notes, Maddie, is a screen. I took a picture with my phone of the screen where it was the first page of that manual. It even says page 1 in the freaking corner, and I don't see an arrow.
Really?
Maybe I just took a too zoomed in version of it. Maybe my peripheral vision is sad, but like I literally took a picture and I was like, haha, trippy message, and that's all I wrote.
Yeah, it's like on the very edges, it's like a little flashing arrow.
Yeah, I just my peripheral is
fair.
disappointing. Oh, and then the last thing that I'll note before we actually jump into it was I thought that I heard the sound of like thunking right at the beginning, and I thought there was a dead body in my trunk because right away, like this creepy music is happening, very weird atmosphere. You open up your car like box, whatever it is, glove box, you find a picture of a dead body laying there and you're like, that's weird. And I think I must have been imagining it, but it sounded like thunking, and I'm like, do I have a dead body in the trunk? Did I take this picture? They never let me open the trunk, so I guess I'll never know. But
I don't think that went through my head.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know, I was on edge.
Yeah.
So I was imagining thunking in the trunk, but it's fine.
Yeah.
No. Okay, do we want to get into it? How do we start with this game? Do we talk about, I don't know, the premise?
Okay, well, I can tell you like my notes that I have at the very beginning that is really funny to me of like one of the first things I wrote is I feel dumb. And then I say, I found a numbers book. I'm fucked.
Okay, I have a thought. So, very, very early, you find a note, and that note said to meet this person in the new year. So it was set in like 1962, and they said in January of the new year, so 1963, like, come and meet me. So you do know right at the beginning, because I think you find that in your car or somewhere around the car, that you are here to meet with somebody. And so the first part, like the very, very first, like very short first part of the game, right, is that you know that there's somebody here waiting for you, but everything feels very abandoned.
Yes.
But you quickly start getting like these in-game like puzzles, and it's
very quickly.
very
trying
quickly,
to
like a
unlock
dog hands you
doors.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's framed around the idea that the main character, like puzzles, and this guy wants to make, whoever you're meeting with wants to make sure that it's you and they know that you'll enjoy this, is how it's kind of like framed. And so, like, to Maddie's point, you were trying to get to your room in this hotel, but the only reason that you know there's like a room to get to is because you've had like these little notes scattered for you to figure out how to get into the hotel and what you're even doing there from this person that you're supposed to meet. So it's like a very vague goal at the beginning. Like, you don't know why you're there. You just know they're supposed to meet this person. So do we want to talk about the person that we're meeting?
I think we could talk about the person that we're meeting. I think we could also talk a little bit about the mechanics that you start to figure out as you're going through at the very beginning. Because what happens is when you come upon these things, you have a little thing in the corner that pops up that says, open door. Mm-hmm. Or like you read this note from the dog and it says, figure out how to get in the hotel or whatever. And then you find another note about how to get into the door and it says open door or figure out this thing. And it stores it in your like photographic memory.
Yeah.
So that's like another huge aspect of this game is that Lorelei, the main character, I mean, you assume is the main character, it's pretty obvious, and that's who you're playing. She has this photographic memory. And so when you start to read things or discover things, something that is quite nice that they did is there's like a photo of it in your like game menu that you can go back and look on.
Yes.
Can you imagine how awful this game would be without that?
Unplayable. Of all of the UI critiques that I have, of which I have many, the fact that they gave you every piece of information was really, really nice. Otherwise, I don't think I would have survived. Like, I just don't think it would have been possible. Like, can you imagine running from room to room, trying to go back and find that one thing you already forgot where it was? Ugh.
Yeah. So, for example, you'll pick up a book in the hotel, and the book will have information. And now, in your in the game menu, you can go back and read that book at any time.
Yeah.
And read the information in that book at any time. Mm-hmm. So that's like one aspect that starts to happen at the beginning. And then you also have a like memories history, which I didn't use very much. Did you use that?
No,
I didn't use that.
No.
But I did notice like, oh, that could be helpful for people if they're like, oh, like where did I find that thing? And you can go back and like figure out when you like what steps you took to get where you are. And then the last thing I think that will that gets brought up pretty early on is that when you save, you're saving at a computer. So every time you save the game, you have to go manually save it at the computer. So there's computers kind of throughout the hotel that you have to find and go save at. And the reason I think that's kind of interesting is that you can't just save at any time. You have to go like actually do it. And I do like the aesthetics of it. It's like very old school. It makes like the old school like computer noises of like, you know, and saves it. And then you also start to notice in your inventory, there's like a Game Boy type thing. It's not a Game Boy.
It very much still looks like a Game Boy.
A Game Boy type thing. And then on the computer, you can also load disk. So you're like, ooh, what's that? It's like save and then load disk and then also load statistics where it'll give you like stats about your game so far. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty fun. And that's kind of the main components of the gameplay. Yeah. With the photographic memory being the very main one.
And the thing that, okay, so I'm just going to get into a couple of my thoughts of those general mechanics. One, agree with you. The photographic memory was a great call. I really liked how thematically it fit in. Like, it was a nice way to do it. It had no back button. And so the only way that I'm going to like take you through a user flow, okay? You're going to product manage with me for a second. But like you open up your menu with the one button that you have, which is the same button that you would use to interact with other things if it was nearby. But so you have to be not facing something. You have to be just like around. Then you press the button and it brings up your main screen and you have like the list of the things that Maddie just told you about that you can like toggle through. If you want to get into your photographic memory, you click on the photographic memory. They're in like these big buckets, like categories that they had. You have to find the correct category, which sometimes made sense and sometimes for me were hard to remember which thing was put in which category, because there are a lot of categories.
Yeah.
And you click into your category, and then you get to another list, and in that list you have to go all the way and figure out whatever document you're trying to find, and then you click into that. And then to get back out, you have to go all the way, reverse engineer your way back out of the thing. And if you want to, let's say for instance you're trying to solve a puzzle and you're trying to reference the same document over and over again, guess what? It doesn't remember where you were. So every time that you reopen that up, you have to re-go back to that same spot. Good luck if it's in the 9th category on the 10th spot.
On my phone.
Yes.
And then I would
reference. I used my phone as a second screen because it was so annoying to use the mechanics that they had built into this thing. And the going back was not a B button pressed. Going back was pressing the X button.
B button would actually move you forward sometimes.
Yes. It did, because it was just another action button. And I have so many, like, I thought maybe it was for aesthetic reasons. Like maybe this is how old style games did it, and that's why they chose to do this. Given how it's made, that this is like an explicit decision to always go forward. I'm so sorry. I am still going back out of this menu. You can let me go back out of the menu. That would not have changed my gameplay at all.
Yeah.
At all. And it would not made the aesthetic any less strong if I could have pressed the B button, or if I could have just closed the menu and then reopened it to the same page I was on, or if there's a dedicated button for the map. That would have been really nice because you have to reopen it all the time. Or I don't know, all those lists of those to-dos that Maddie mentioned, like open the door that pops up. I loved having that list of to-dos. Guess what? They keep it in the order that you find it. And whenever you finish it, it just crosses it off. So if you still have a thing to do from 16 pages ago and you were to remember what it was,
backwards 16 pages.
And you have to realize, and you're kind of like trying to scan this giant list of all these things crossed off, because there's a lot to do in this game.
There's a lot.
And so it's not like I'm going back 2 pages to see a thing that's clearly marked. It's like, no, I'm scanning back through to page 15 to find that one thing that I haven't done yet, because the game also gives you things to do that you can't do until the end. And so there are things on page 15 whenever you're at the end of your game trying to do it. So this is a long-winded way to say, like, if you are a game designer and you are attempting to design a user interface and you think that it's fun to do something like this, I just want to tell you that it's painful and it hurts to play, even if it's theoretically cool, and I hated it. And did it ruin the whole game for me? No. But did I like yell expletives every time I pressed B and it accidentally clicked on a thing? Yes, I absolutely did that at least 50 times.
Yeah,
so
no, I did a lot. I did it a lot. I clicked B a lot and had things that because it's so, you're right, it's just so ingrained into like how our brain works and like how to do video games that it really was like, I see the idea that they were going for, and I get that it's an artistic choice, and I think it kind of makes sense for this game, which is about this convoluted artist, but
making artistic choices that are literally painful. Yeah.
But it is painful, and I agree that it would not have hurt to have the B button work as the B button.
And as somebody who's currently making a game, that's not hard to do. It's not hard to make the B button be a B button. They could have done it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so there's the first mechanics. And so the next thing that you start to put together is that this story is about like you are an artist. You get that pretty early on, because then you see this like notice in this hotel that talks about like exhibits by the artist Lorelei, which is you, and also talks about how there's like a magician show. So this very beginning part, you see these, billboard notices about things that are happening around the hotel. And it kind of gives you an idea for like what this is going to be about. And then there's a locked door with a man behind it talking. And so you do some things until that door unlocks, and then that's where you meet this mysterious man who creeped me out from the very beginning.
Yes. Immediately bad vibes. No good vibes.
Immediate bad vibes. And he calls you Senora, or whatever. And he is like, the one kind of leading you through what this story ends up being. And
Can
you
I tell
start to
you
put
something that will
together-
make you feel less dumb?
Yeah.
I didn't realize I was Lorelei right away. I didn't know who Lorelei was, and they only references us as the Signorina, or I'm so sorry, Signora. And I was like, is that my name? Because I think that's in a different language for like woman. And that's like a note that I took where I was like, I don't think that's my name. So I don't know that it's like immediately told to you. I didn't figure it out until when I was like, oh, I had heard, he told me I liked puzzles. And then in the exhibition, there was a puzzle box room. And I'm like, by Lorelei. And I'm like, oh, that must be me. But that wasn't a dot that I connected right away.
Yeah.
So you can feel smart, Maddie.
Okay. I'll feel a little smart because
Yeah.
I kind of immediately knew the title of the game. Like, I'm Lorelei. Well, I think it was like when I noticed that there's like art exhibits by Lorelei, I was like, yeah, that's who I am.
I thought maybe she was the dead woman, like in the picture.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a possibility. You find that pretty early on.
Yeah, you find the dead woman just chilling in the backyard, and you have the dead woman picture in your car right away. So I thought maybe that was Lorelei.
Yeah.
And not
Oh,
me.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So one of the things that you start to put together is, okay. Essentially, you start to unweave this tale where this man, who you then realize is a man throughout some different things named Renzo or Lorenzo.
No, not or Lorenzo. Those are different
I mean,
people.
I know they're different people, Bridget, but I did not figure that out until until part of the way through where I was like, okay, so because Renzo seems seems like it's short for Lorenzo.
I know. It's actually very annoying, the name choices that were picked.
And then you also you start to find books about this like film artist Nero
Renzo. Yeah, Nero Renzo.
And you start to put together through these books pretty early on that he's kind of this pretentious like filmmaker, and he is on this like last quest to create this like big art piece that transcends art and is about like a spectator thing. And he brought Lorelei into the project because her like art specialty is like interaction, like with her exhibits as well. And so really you're just trying to figure out like this story and what's happening as it unfolds. But then there's some interesting timey-wimey things happening as well, where you'll find notes and letters from 1847, but then you're also in the hotel and he like gives you your room key and you unlock it and there's an old woman in your room. Yeah. And she's like kind of crazy like looking.
Yeah.
Like,
and I did immediately guess that was us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she's in your room.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I kind of figured. And so then you start to find pieces and bits and bobs and you're puzzling this out and you're finding different things, like, because literally my notes are just like puzzle. Yes. Like you're just trying to unlock doors. This is like the main thing. You're just trying to figure out more about what happened, find keys, unlock more doors, unlock different blocked off areas, and just figure out more information. And so all of the puzzles kind of center around like unlocking areas, and like going deeper into like this hotel. And so it's open world, but it's very much like it is like an intimate open world. It's actually not that big of a map, which is nice. Oh, thank God. And then you also start to realize that there's these shortcut doors that you can start to unlock early on in the game to provide shortcuts to different areas of the hotel, which is a big quality of life upgrade, but you do have to solve a puzzle to get that quality of life upgrade. So those are the main puzzles. And also all of the puzzles really center around math, or like a huge number of them.
A lot of math. Well, and I think so much of them are math oriented or like sometimes like visual orient, like you literally like brain teasery. There's very brain teasery. I think a lot of that is because so many of the puzzles are centered around the years that Maddie had mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So what it was 1847, 1963,
1963
and
and
2014.
2014. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you see those 3 years constantly throughout the
Everywhere.
game. Everywhere. Which is why it's clear that there's some timey-wimey BS things happening, because you think that you're in the 63 version, but you see 2014 referenced multiple times, and you're like, that's weird. Or like the 1840 stuff, like, why am I finding a note in a safe from 1847? That's very confusing. But because so many of the answers are related to those 3 years, they have to deal with numbers in order to get you there. So it is a lot of math. And like the one tool that they give you in this game on your Game Boy is a calculator, which I never used. I used my own phone calculator.
Used my phone, yeah.
But yes, very
I
math
guess
heavy.
it's nice that they had it in case you don't have a calculator.
Just in case.
But
yeah.
I never used that, yeah.
So where we left off, we are exploring this place like Maddie mentioned. We're trying to find a room. There's an old lady in the room. We get a directive very early to find his lost pages. So like this guy, Renzo.
Script pages, yeah.
Is like writing and he says find our lost script pages. But it's not very clear how you do that. It's just like a directive that you get. And if you keep exploring.
Also help the old lady see. Is like really
also,
early on.
Yes, you're totally right. Help the old lady see, which also has no directive. She's got these glowing red eyes, super, super creepy, but it's really not clear what help the old lady see
and you
means
can
at all.
say something to her, but it's this open keyboard.
Yes.
Like, it's not multiple choice. So you're like,
Good
okay,
luck.
I need to like go figure out what to say to this lady. And like very early on, I did try like the names that I would find, and weirdly, like none of those worked. Like,
yes. Yeah.
Like I typed
and it turns
in
out
Lorelei
that those are all
early
randomly
on.
like those are one of the pieces that Maddie talked about being random, not fully random. Obviously the creators had a goal, but like Maddie's answers were probably different than my answers. But then there are like key areas in the game. So there's like magician nonsense like Maddie had mentioned. There's like a tent in the backyard, like a fortune tellery type tent. And there's this locked room you get a key for off a dead woman's body really early that has the creepiest red glowing mirror in it. And then there's like one more room, which I think we could get to later. But those are like, I think, the 3 big weird things that stand out at the beginning. Do you think that's right?
Yeah. And when you get the key off of the dead lady, which I thought was pretty metal.
I know. I did get a text from Maddie when she did that.
It's like pretty metal. And you go and you unlock the room and there's this red mirror and there's a ghost kind of in the red mirror and you touch it. Yes. You go into a maze.
Yes.
And this is kind of the red maze that is referenced in multiple places. And the red maze has a girl with an owl face on, like an owl face mask. And she tells you, like, oh, find the center of the maze. So that's like one of the main things that you're trying to do is find the center of this maze. And I didn't actually do a ton of exploring the first time I ended up in the maze because it was pretty early. And I was kind of overwhelmed by unlocking more things to do. And I wanted to go back and like check more stuff off the list before I added more to that list. Yeah. So I actually ended up doing that quite early. And what happens the first time you go into the red maze is it also unleashes 9 maze head beings in the hotel. And I thought that was really interesting because it kind of shifted the tone to be more of more horror, which I wasn't expecting. Like until now it was kind of like mystery, maybe a little thriller, but not really. More like noir, like more
just
dark.
Unsettling, but it wasn't really thriller.
But it wasn't like giving me horror vibes. And then when that happened, I did start getting horror vibes, especially when you unlock that room. They kind of do a little jump scare.
They do
at you. Yeah.
Yes.
They do a jump scare. And so I thought that's when it got like really interesting for me actually. And I was like, ooh, like this is a little different.
Of course you were excited that happened.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I was like, did I get here too early? Do I need to quit and start over and not go into that room? Like, I thought I had gotten accidentally too far ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of had the same statement. And then what was interesting too is that as you start, what ends up happening is these maze people start going after you, and then they catch you, and you have a scene that you have to memorize aspects about this scene. Like how many whatevers were on the table or what was hidden behind the thing. And it's this 3D scene that you have to like walk around, explore, memorize, and then answer a question about. And if you answer the question wrong, you get game over.
Yeah.
And so it's also really important to save often. Yeah. I actually never got a game over on one of those maze guys.
I never did either.
Phew.
Yeah. Did you not take notes of what was in the room? Because I took notes of literally everything in the room.
No.
I did. I'll show you my notes later, but it's actually like wildly embarrassing. It's like me going through and writing every single count or direction or location. I didn't take pictures because that felt like a little too far to defeat the purpose of what they were wanting me to do. But I sat there and I took notes. Oh yeah, okay, so it's like clock, 6:47, 5 shells, key on 4th right next to clock, key left clock right, 3 wine bottles, 2 glasses in left bottom drawer of shelf, horse second right, 1 vase second right, left of horse. Like I wrote, like I had literally, and then like there was a bookshelf, and so for each shelf I wrote down how many books were on each shelf in which each place. And I did that for every single one. And so I found them a little tedious, but I was too nervous because there was only one. Once the thing started chasing you, you could only save in one area of the hotel. The rest of them, you couldn't use the computers while it was chasing you. And so like I, in some instances, hadn't saved in like 20 minutes. And I was absolutely, if I had to lose 20 minutes of my time, I would have no idea where I even was. So my notes were thorough.
I got super lucky. There was only one where I didn't know the answer, but I kind of felt like there was a theme to it. And so I picked the right item from the like theme.
That's amazing.
What happens is once you answer it correctly, it gives you one of the script pages. Yep. And the script pages are kind of about what's happening between Lorelei and this Renzo character.
Yeah.
As they're like doing this art thing together in this hotel, this like art exhibit. And then you also start to uncover that there's something about this like weird secret society about like the third eye.
The third eye. Woo.
Which didn't have as much of a payoff as I wanted.
No, I have some theories which we can talk about very, very briefly when we do like a TLDR of the story at the end. But no, there wasn't actually as much to that as I thought there would be.
Yeah. So it's really interesting because you're kind of uncovering 3 different storylines at the same time. Yeah. Except the 2014 one is very light. I would say there's not a full storyline, whereas the 1847 one is kind of a full storyline.
Yeah,
with this character named Lorenzo and this other woman named Renate or Renat.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call her.
Yeah.
And but I kind of got a feeling that what I'm uncovering is like what has happened to me in this like 1963 time period.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Well, after we get all the script pages, we can maybe keep going from there, which is you can give them all to him, Renzo, who is sitting in his room all locked in there. But then once you give him the script pages, he unlocks the door for you and you see a skeleton sitting at the desk with like this glowing eyeball and tons of more script pages on the ground, like a ton of them. And immediately, like, my head went to, oh, is that Renzo? Is he dead? Is he been a ghost the whole time? But then you can literally go to the telephone and call Renzo, and you still have, like, scenes with him, and you still talk with him afterwards. So it's not clear to me who that skeleton was, other than the fact that it was just creepy AF.
Yeah. I think it's a mannequin because one of the script pages you find out is the woman that's dead, quote unquote, is actually a mannequin.
A mannequin. You're right. That's a good call. Yes. Yeah. Because all of the mannequin stuff, what you realize is the 1847 timeline is this script that he is writing. And you were in 1963 on set, quote unquote, filming this film. And so a lot of the creepy things you do find is like, oh, that's red paint, it's not actually blood, or oh yeah, it's a mannequin, it's not actually a dead body, because in 1963 it's all him setting up for this script that he's writing of this fictional set of people in 1847. Yeah, that's a good call. You're right.
Yeah. And I think that the thing that's really interesting about this game is like there are very few cutscenes, but where there are cutscenes, they have like a ton of impact. Like they were really interesting. Like and it has to do around these like bigger like unveils or like things that you find. And there's the first time you find the supercomputer is pretty early, or at least I found that fairly early.
Yeah, it's pretty early.
And then you kind of start to put together that he's kind of this like writer, filmmaker, and he brought Lorelei in to like design a maze and like provide like more technical expertise like with these computer things, which was very interesting. And so even pretty early on, you get a cutscene with the man and Lorelei when you find the supercomputer, and he's like, you know, the goal is to unlock this computer, and it has this login sequence that's pretty complicated. Like it's very complex, multi-stage login process that you can't solve until the very, very end. So that's why I also thought it was really interesting, because I had forgotten it. And one of the things that's really interesting about playing this game, or that I experienced, is I would do a bunch of stuff, and then I would hit this plateau of like, what do I do next?
Yes,
like,
for sure.
What am I supposed to do next? And then I'd have to like go back and figure out, okay, what have I not unlocked yet?
Yeah.
And then a lot of the times what would happen, like with this old woman, and I was like, I don't know what to say to her. And you were like, well, it has to do with the journal. And I was like, oh, duh. Because like I had done the journal, and then like I had not really thought about talking to the old woman in so long that I even kind of forgot about that objective, because talking to the old woman is one of the first objectives that you get. Similarly, like you unlock these computer discs, and then you do these like computer disc things like really early on.
Super early.
It's like one of the first things that you do, and you get these like secret messages. And I'd completely forgotten about those secret messages, and that only comes into play at the very end with the supercomputer. And so it's very interesting how they like connected across like your entire gameplay, where you have these different stages of things that you're doing, you know?
Yeah. It definitely... I saw some criticism online when I was going through the reviews about how, like, in what order and timing and when you got the different puzzles and solutions that you did, because so much of it is intertwined that way. And there are also pieces that are very bottlenecky, like the piano puzzle was very bottlenecky because it stopped everything with the magician from happening. And so there were a few pieces, like puzzles that were bottlenecks you didn't realize were bottlenecks, or there are pieces like you were saying, Maddie, that you'd find at the beginning and you wouldn't even use till the end. Like there are like two of the very first puzzles I found I could not solve until I found documents at the very end of the game, like in the last maybe hour and a half that I played. And what was interesting, and I'm curious if you had this experience or not, is most of the puzzles in this game for me felt not like the answers weren't actually challenging. A lot of the answers were simple. In fact, even simpler than I
You gave
anticipated.
me that hint early on, and it was so helpful. It was so helpful.
Okay.
Like, you saved me even more time because of that hint.
Well, because that's what so much of it was.
Can we talk about the piano puzzle?
Yeah, we can talk about the piano puzzle.
Finish your thought. Finish your thought.
No, it's very representative of the thing that I am saying. In fact, I wrote a paragraph on it in my notes because I think that it is that this game overcomplicates, like, you look at it and it's very easy to overcomplicate immediately. And then you literally have to take a moment outside of yourself and step back and be like, what are the most obvious things that I could do here? And it's almost always one of those things. And the piano puzzle is like an obvious, like, honestly, a shining star of that, because you look at it and you go to this piano, there's a piece of sheet music, which does not have correct, like, it's not correct sheet music, like when you look at it, it has the wrong number of beats in each stanza.
I have such a bone to pick with this puzzle.
I am so curious because, like, when I looked at it, the actual bone that I have to pick with this one, I really loved the scene afterwards, but the puzzle itself,
I did too.
It doesn't give you a notification like all the other ones do, like open the door. There's no, like, what's wrong with the piano, ? Like, there's literally no hint about needing to solve the piano like a puzzle. So I thought it was going to be more of like an Easter egg, or I would get something else that would point me back to the piano. And so I just ignored it. But when I actually sat down and did it, the solution is so simple because you're literally just counting the number of notes in each stanza, and like there's numbers written on the keys, and you press, like, if there's 2 notes you press the number 2, if there's no notes you press 0, and that's literally the whole puzzle. That's literally all it is. So tell me, like,
such a bone to pick.
Yeah.
I think because, like, and I even found this Reddit thread that was like, the piano puzzle is hell for people that actually know music.
But I know music and I didn't find it hell. Maybe because I was already in the simple headspace a little bit.
No, but it's like, it's so frustrating because it has nothing to do with rhythm or anything. It has no, like, there's different notes and you're like,
yes.
Okay, this must be a C or whatever. So I think, like, for me, it was too simple and it made it frustrating. And like, I think you told me, like, make it really stupid. And I was like, oh.
Because that's what it was. It was just the most obvious, simple thing. It had nothing to do with music at all. Like, music was a theming, but it had nothing to do with music. Yeah. Absolutely nothing.
And then let's talk a little bit about the thing afterwards, because I actually do think that was my favorite cutscene of, like, the whole game.
I also really loved it. Do you have a way you want to describe it?
No, you go for it.
Well, so after you play the piano, or you solve the puzzle, you're playing the notes, it turns into this beautiful song. Like, oh my gosh, what a pretty song. I loved it. And it's you, Lorelei, sitting on the piano playing it. And then Renzo shows up and you guys end up dancing together, and he'll end up giving you this red rose. It feels... The dancing was weird because
but I loved the song.
It feels... The thing that felt off was that it felt like it was supposed to be, like, not romantic, but it was romantic actions. Like, I didn't get the sense of romance at all from this intimate dance with, like, a rose that you're getting from this person. It felt very threatening instead of romantic. Like, it didn't feel romantic to me. And so I think it was just, again, more unsettlingness, but the music itself underneath it, it was just so good. I was like, wow, I really loved that scene. I wish that it would have told me to solve the piano thing sooner so that I would have done it, because it also blocked a bunch of stuff. But that scene, I don't know, I really loved that scene.
Yeah, it was a really good scene, even though the dancing was weird, but the song was really, really good.
It was like, really good.
This dancing is, you're right. It's like, it was like very, like, just weird vibes.
It was.
Because Renzo was weird vibes the whole time, and he purposefully so. Like, he was just the weirdest fucking person, and it, like, from the beginning, just bad vibes. So one of the things that you start to unlock kind of later game is case files.
Wait, say
which
that
might
again?
Be interesting to talk
case
about.
Files?
Case files.
Case files.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you unlock police reports. And so then you start to put together that something has happened in 1963. They have like redacted stuff in the case files, but you find out that somebody died. You don't know who necessarily, but you're pretty sure it's not Lorelei because she's answering questions.
Old lady in the bed,
and is probably the old lady in the bed. So at the very end, you're, like, putting together all these puzzles or whatever. You're trying to figure out what happened, and I had put together before. I was like, okay, something, probably Renzo has gotten killed, because you find these case files of somebody who had fallen out the window or had gotten pushed out the window, but they closed the case because there wasn't enough evidence that somebody pushed them out the window. But you don't know who died. And so, but it was 1963 and it was only those two people, and you know that Lorelei didn't die. So I was like, okay, so Renzo probably fell out the window and died.
Yeah.
And then at the very end, you put together the supercomputer puzzle using all of the clues that you've gotten throughout.
Mm-hmm.
You have done these puzzle boxes that she had designed. You have talked to the old woman, and she gave you these like cool symbols, which was like one of the last things that I was doing. And this was like where I was texting Bridget a lot, but a lot of the times what would happen is I'd take a photo of it and then I'd look at it and I'd be like, oh, I see it now. You know what I mean? So
and then I
Bridget,
heart the message and put no effort in.
So Bridget wasn't actually helping me. I just found that I needed a cheerleader to like get me through this moment.
Yeah.
Because I will say this is the headbutting puzzle things at the very end. I was over it. I was so over it. I did the supercomputer puzzle. There's another puzzle. You do that puzzle. There's another puzzle. And then there's a puzzle after that. And you're like, fuck off with the puzzles. I don't need any more puzzles. I'm done.
Oh, Maddie.
Like, I so strongly believe that the supercomputer puzzle should have been the last puzzle, and then it should have been a cutscene. Like,
I didn't find that the puzzles after the supercomputer were really puzzles, though. Like, it was more like navigating through the story so the thing that I appreciated about the end was that, like, the end flow that Maddie is talking about is you have to put in answers to questions that are posed in computer code, but the answers to the questions are pieces of information you should have learned. So, like, who am I? I'm Lorelei. I'm both the old woman and the young woman. And, like, who got pushed out the window? Who pushed them? Who are the people that are fictional? You know, like, it's asking you this stuff that you should have logicked out through the story pieces. The reason that I appreciated that was because it confirmed in-game truths about the game that otherwise could have maybe been ambiguous.
That's a good point.
Which I appreciated.
I think for me, the thing that I got really frustrated with is that it went back to that navigation.
That's true. The navigation was absolute balls.
There were parts of this game that were so hard to navigate.
Yes.
So there's a puzzle where you're playing Lorelei the Laser Eyes in a game system.
Yeah.
In a video game, and the controls were
hot garbage.
Insane.
Awful.
It was like one of the things where you had to like the stick didn't actually move the character, it like turned the character and then you had to push forward. So you would have to like turn the character and push forward, turn the character, push forward, like very old school. Yes. Very old school. Very bad. Not good.
Bad.
And then the same thing that happened at this very end where I theoretically like it. I feel like it should have just been like a computer program. You're already in the computer program. So if they had done something like input old woman equals young woman output ? And then you could like type it out or something. That would have felt better to me. And then after you answer these quizzes, there is another fucking puzzle and you're like, fuck off. Like, I don't need it. I don't need it. I already did a million other puzzles to get here. And I think it just lessened the impact because like solving the computer puzzle felt so good because you're bringing stuff together from the whole ass game. Mm-hmm. And then I can see your point of like the input being a summary of the things that you learned. And I do agree with you. I do think that's good. But then this very last like navigational puzzle is just like slows me down for no reason. I agree with that.
It took a really long time to get through that last thing. I feel like the last section should have been like 5 minutes. And instead I feel like it was more like 15 or 20 to get all the way through like the computer. Like it was a long time.
It was long.
Yeah, it was a slog.
It was a slog. And I think that so then the last scene that you get after you do this final puzzle is that Lorelei had pushed Renzo out the window and had killed him. And she was like finally remembering that that's what had happened in her like old woman, like on her deathbed, kind of reliving her life. She had kind of trauma blocked, I guess, this death that she had caused. I will say, though, he was coming for her. And he had, like, stabbed his eyes. And
so,
he's
like,
waving a gun around. And yeah.
I
So you push
absolutely,
him.
she had to push him. But I think that he wanted her to push him. Like, if you read between the lines, you see stuff about Renzo wanting to put on this performance art without an audience. Like, he literally runs shows without audiences. And so in my head, what he's done is he wrote this story about these people in 1847 where Lorenzo pushes Renate out the window after she carves her eyes out for this third eye cult or whatever. And then literally in real life, he decides to recreate that as the performers, but without Lorelei in on the plan. And so he locks her in this room and cuts out his eyes and is like, do this performance art with me, which results in him being pushed out the window, like in the story he wrote. So he's like waving a gun at you and saying like, do it right, do it right. And so he's putting on this show like for the performers. So I don't even think that, like, one, Lorelei was backed into a corner. Like, she was locked in a room with a gun being waved at her with this madman who had just fucking stabbed his eyes, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I'd push him the fuck out the window too.
Yeah, same.
Like, I don't think she did anything wrong.
No.
But it's like, I also think that that's what he wanted. Like, I think he wanted to die for his art in that moment to mimic the art. So I don't even think that he was mad about it. I think he wanted her to push him out the window.
And he was just a fucking weirdo.
It's fucking crazy.
But I think because of that, like, the ending just felt kind of womp. Because it's like...
Well, you figured it out early. Like, I figured out that she had pushed him way early. Because you, like, go into a confession booth and literally have to confess to murder.
You confess to murder.
Literally in, like, the first maybe, like, 6 or 5 hours. I don't know. However, like, the first third, I would say, of the game, you confess to murder.
Well, and this is why I think, like, they knew you were going to put that together. Like...
Yeah.
And so the ending was just kind of womp. Like, I thought it was going to be this reveal of some sort that was more than that. And it ended up
but we already
just
knew everything.
being that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just like you're uncovering these weird things. There's this cult, there's this third eye thing, there's this like layer upon layer upon layer. And it just kind of fell flat for me at the very end.
I think I agree with you. I think you figured out the story. I think I had mostly figured out the story. I was still a little confused about the Lorenzo Renate shenanigans.
Oh, same.
Like the fact that they named him Lorenzo and Renzo, I literally have a bone to pick. That was a terrible choice. I get that they probably did it for one of the puzzle mechanics, but I hated it. It made it so much more confusing to understand because I just thought it was a nickname.
Well, I thought it was a nickname. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, maybe they did that on purpose so you wouldn't figure it out as fast, but it didn't feel, like, delightful as much as it was just confusing. So, no, I agree with you. I think because we had figured it out, like, the core thing, the thing that was supposed to be surprising, you pushed him out a window early. It didn't feel impactful when you were going through and answering these questions.
And then seeing that final scene. And then the ending being, scene. Like, her... like some relative or something being like, you finally have figured it out and remembered, old woman. And then he like closes her eyes because she obviously fucking dies.
The internet says that that's Renzo, the ghost of Renzo. I don't know if that's true or not. I just thought it was a doctor.
He looked different.
I wrote like some doctor closed my eyes, I guess, is what I wrote down. So like, I don't know. That's what the internet says. I don't know if I believe them.
I guess because Rudy was there and there's no way that Rudy was still alive.
Rudy is the dog, but yes.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, like...
No, I was telling the people that we're doing this podcast.
Sorry. That's a good point. Like, because Rudy was obviously her dog that she brought with her in 1963.
Yeah.
And so...
Wait, was Rudy her dog? I don't think I realized that. I don't think I knew who owned Rudy.
I'm pretty sure Rudy was her dog that she brought with her in 1963. Because in the scenes from the script pages, like, the dog's always with her.
Oh, okay. I will admit that I didn't read all of the script pages.
It could be Renzo's. It could be Renzo's dog.
Yeah.
I guess.
Do we want to talk, since we summarized story shenanigans, do we want to talk favorite, least favorites, likes, dislikes real quick?
Yeah, let's do final. Yeah.
Favorites. Puzzle wise, I really like the scene after the piano. I thought that the room puzzle boxes was actually really interesting, even though they got kind of repetitive after the 12th box, and some of the rooms I did not like. But I liked the thought of it, like having this art exhibition with puzzle boxes that matched the design of doors. I just thought that was fun. I don't think any of the puzzles actually really like wowed me, although I had a lot of fun just doing the swath of puzzles that there were. I don't think I could sit down and say like this puzzle was so like unique and beautifully executed that it stood out to me. Like a lot of the puzzles in my opinion were very like traditional, very standard. It was done in like a unique way in some aspects from like a design perspective, but for most of the puzzles I was just like, they're so brain teasery, they just felt like puzzles that I had seen a lot before, versus when you think about something like the Outer Wilds or the Obra Dinn, like those felt like such more unique experiences than a lot of the puzzles in this game, even though the theming I thought around them was really good. The least favorite puzzles I had were the 1962 room, which I don't know if you remember, Maddie, but it had like 4 windows, and then those windows had stuff through them, and there were numbers like sitting on pedestals, some up and some laying down throughout the room, and you had to like look at the numbers in the right perspective to figure out which shape lined up with the number. That one was probably my least favorite, one of my least favorite puzzles in the whole thing, because it couldn't be solved for the... Well, yeah, you had to hold the camera to move it around, and you actually only had to pay attention to the 1962. If you paid attention to any of the other numbers, the actual puzzle didn't work. Like, it only worked for the numbers that you needed, and that's not how I solve puzzles, because I expect there to be other patterns for the other numbers for me to be able to connect the dots. And in that puzzle, you literally can only solve it by paying attention to the 4 numbers that you needed. The rest of them you couldn't solve in the way that you solved those four numbers, which really bothered me. And then the other like the other ones, like the astrology clock was sitting there staring at you for so long. The journal with the moon phases was sitting staring at you so long, and I felt kind of let down when I finally got there, because so many of these puzzles were very, I want to say they felt simple because they had like one phase. Like, how do I explain this? Like, so much of the puzzles, right, where like you do this puzzle and that connects to getting an item to solve this puzzle, and that connects to getting an item to solve this puzzle, right? Mm-hmm. But for each of the individual unique puzzle solves, there was really only like one gotcha that you had to figure out. Like, oh, it's X. And then once you know X, you just solve the puzzle. There's not like layers to each of the little siloed puzzles that you found. And so each of the puzzles themselves felt very simple once you had went through the path of getting to that puzzle. And so like once you got to this astrology clock you've been looking at forever, literally all you needed to solve it was a piece of paper with some underlines. And you're like, oh, this is the puzzle. And there was a lot of build up to some of these things that I feel like were then just very straightforward. Yeah, and I don't even mean like easy. I just mean like there was one thing, there was one hook, and once you got the hook, that's just the answer. So like those were kind of where I sat with some of the likes and dislikes. We already talked about all the mechanical stuff, which was the main gripe that I had. And even saying all of this, I felt more negative than it did positive, but I still really enjoyed it. Like I liked that there were so many puzzles. There were puzzles everywhere. I liked just being able to sit down and do them. And some of them made me feel really smart, which I think is always really fun. And I don't think too many of them had these impossible leaps that I was like, how the fuck would I have ever gotten that? I don't think I ever had a moment of that in this game. So overall, I liked it. I would just say that there were a lot of things that didn't wow me as much as I wanted them to.
Yeah. The ones that I liked the best were the ones where I did like, it's really stupid, but the one where you have to unlock the door because of the like bell, the elevator bell.
That was delightful. That was really delightful.
Yeah, like I felt so smart because I got that pretty quickly. I liked the like symbols one of the very last puzzle So, or one of the very last puzzles. So there's a moment where you finally like unlock the center of the maze, and then you get these like first symbol, second symbol, third symbol in the red gallery, which is like the alternate reality art gallery. And to get the actual symbols, you have to turn those symbols into different symbols. And I felt very smart for being able to do that. So I guess I will say, like, the very last puzzle did feel pretty good because you were bringing together these things from across the game.
Totally agree. Yeah.
And I did like that. I thought that was quite fun. I thought the catacombs piece was a bit annoying. That was not one of my favorites. They corresponded with like the maze, and I just didn't find them to be that delightful because it was just about like, I don't know, I found like
it was like image transformation kind of, which isn't my favorite kind of puzzle.
Yeah. And especially because it was so particular about like where you had to put it, and it was just really easy to mess like a single thing up. And so it was very annoying to have to try to get all of them right. And they don't like say, this one's right, move on. Like you have to get all three of them right to move on. So that one felt a bit more annoying. But yeah, overall, I liked it. I thought it was good. It's just so many. Like I said, I think it's just overload, like puzzle overload.
See, and I liked that because I feel like so many puzzle games, I'm like, oh, okay, if I really take a step back, I got like 12 puzzles out of this shit. And so this was fun for me because there were so many puzzles. No, I was just like, I'm puzzling all the time.
It was fun to a point, but then I think I got tired of it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, 23 or whatever hours is a long time for a puzzle game. They're not usually that long.
Every puzzle just begets more puzzle. And so I think it was just like a little overload at one point. But overall, I think it was good. Okay, do we want to do like final ratings and recommend it? Who we'd recommend it to? I feel like your recommendation is going to mean more than mine as puzzle expert.
Well, honestly, I feel like the kinds of puzzle games you get are very, like there are a lot of good puzzle games on the market just in general. Like I really like, we've done a lot of them lately. Like puzzle games are really fun and generally very delightful. I do think this one was packed to the effing brim with them. And if you're somebody who likes those more brain teasery, like I feel smart, I like to sit down and like abstractly think about this thing in front of me, I think that you'll enjoy it because they are very brain teasery-esque. I do think that in a sense they're also very escape room-esque. It's a lot of there are locks and doors, find the thing to open the lock on the door, like that kind of thing. So if you like either one of those, I do think that the difficulty level was theoretically high. Like there are still like 3, I think, shortcuts I haven't solved yet. Hint wise, I took 2 shortcut doors Chris solved with me because I was very stuck on them. And then there were the point where I needed the red rose and I didn't know where to get it. I looked up how you figure out. So I looked up like it's the piano puzzle, but I didn't look up how to solve it. I just looked up the fact that that's this puzzle I needed to solve. So I didn't actually take hints for this game, and it was still finishable. But if you're somebody who, and like we had talked about, there are some things you can't really take hints on because it's different information than what other people maybe who have written the walkthroughs on the internet have had. So if you are going to get like super frustrated with things and not like if you're going to get extra frustrated if you don't feel like you're super comfortable with puzzles, then this might be a hard game for you, and you need to take it that, you know, like at a pace that's more comfortable for you. It's not as hard as Baba Is You, so I'll give it that. Baba Is You is a whole league, but I do think that if you like puzzles in general, you'll like this. I love the atmosphere of it, and if you want to give just some puzzling stuff a try, I would say give it a try. I actually really enjoyed it, even if there weren't anything like puzzle wise that stood out as breathtaking. I still really enjoyed all of the puzzles that they had, and had a nice time with it. I think because of the control issues, I wanted to give it a 7 out of 10, but again, we don't have those. So I think I've got to give it a 3 out of 5. The puzzles themselves I really liked. The controls were so awful, and I'm so sorry that it was an artistic choice. And the fact that I didn't have puzzles that stand out as, oh my god, that's amazing, made me put it that way. Otherwise, I think I would have given it a 4 out of 5 without the controls. But the controls were so bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
A 7 out of 10 what's?
Roses.
There you go.
Yeah.
Fun. So my thoughts overall is I do recommend this. If you're like me and you're not like an expert puzzle person, I would recommend playing with a friend. I think that having you to text was very helpful, especially in those moments where I kind of forgot about the stuff that I had already done. Because I think like as an expert puzzle person, you're kind of used to keeping those things in your head for a long time versus I think for me, it's easier to like throw it out from the beginning of the game, like throw it out of my brain at least. And so I will say I really appreciated like having somebody to text about it and like talk things through. And I did use hints probably a lot more than Bridget did. I needed hints for a lot of the shortcuts. I found this game rant that had hints that were actually really good. Because it would, I mean, like you said, you can't look up the answers. Like they specifically designed it that way, which I do actually really appreciate. I think that's actually very special and super rare, because it didn't take away from me. I mean, it took away a little bit of the accomplishment, obviously, but it didn't take away like the full effect of it.
I agree with that.
To get the hints. And so then there's a lot of them that I didn't need hints on, right? Like I still felt smart. So I would recommend it if you want like a big, meaty, mathy puzzle game to dive into.
Yes.
I don't know if I would necessarily recommend it for the story in and of itself. Like, no. I don't think the story is compelling enough for me to recommend it alone. Just because it ended up being a bit more lackluster than I was expecting, even though it was quite interesting and I liked the vibes. It was just like, it ended up not being as impactful of a story as I thought it would be. I think I'd probably like overhyped it in my head, based on like recommendations that we had been getting about this game. So I also gave it a 7 out of 10. But we don't have that, so also like a 3 out of 5, which I hate when we have the same rating, but it be what it be.
For different reasons,
I'll do 3 out of 5 Rudy's, the dog, because I liked the dog. It was very cute. And then one of the other things that I guess I'll mention is that there are not multiple endings for this game, and it really felt like a game that would maybe have multiple endings as you're going through it. Because there's a few moments where you pick dialogue choices that I wish mattered a little bit more than they do. Because it seems like they don't matter at all, which is fine. But even at the very end where it's like you have some different choices as you're playing out that last scene. And it doesn't actually like impact anything that happens. So I think it might be interesting if there was like an alternate ending that you could find if you uncovered like 100% of the truth or something. But I looked it up online and that's not the case. There is a secret that
I was gonna
apparently
say
nobody has found.
Yes, like, I did read that too.
But I guess we'll find out when somebody finds it. But I just don't think it will be a whole other ending. Unless it is.
I don't know. Like, hearing that there's a secret that nobody's found is kind of wild because, I mean, there were a lot of places, quote unquote, to look, but not a lot of places to look, you know? So it's surprising to me that nobody's found it yet. And it makes me think that it's more of like an Easter egg secret surprise than it is like a life-changing game surprise.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So I think it maybe would have been a little bit fun if it had some multiple endings or if the ending was like a little bit more magical perhaps?
Oh, wait.
I don't know.
Wait, you never got the coffee and I didn't tell you what it was.
Oh, yeah. What was the coffee room?
There was also a coffee room mechanic where there was espresso machines everywhere. You could get stuff. I'm sorry, this is at the very end of the podcast. You get the coffee and it just makes you walk faster.
Great.
Ta-da!
I also am so stupid because I looked it up how to get in that room. It's the C key. And
yeah,
I just to totally, I guess one more bone to pick is like your purse becomes
you
so
have the key?
filled with, yes, I have the key.
Oh.
I just didn't I got it and I was in the middle of doing a thing and then I forgot that I had gotten the key, right? Because my purse is so full of keys towards the end of the game.
And you can't sort it or organize it,
no.
which is annoying. Yeah. No.
And it's so full of keys. There's like a million different keys in your purse at the end. And yeah. I wish that you would have used the tampons at some point. I tried putting those things everywhere.
Me too! I was like, they gave me these tampons, I'm gonna freaking use them! And then we didn't use them. We just had tampons for the sake of tampons, which, fine.
Yeah. There's the game. It was a good game. I'm glad we played it.
Yeah, I actually really am glad we played it. Given the score, it feels like I was more lackluster about it than I was, but I think my expectations were
we just need to change
high.
our rating to be out of 10.
I do think we need our ratings to be out of 10. I'll put it on the to-do list. Because I think 7 out of 10 is right to me. 6 out of 10 is way too low.
7 out of 10. Yeah, 7 out of 10 feels right.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe and rate it. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Baddy Breakdowns and visit our website, baddybreakdowns.com, made by Bridget. The podcast art was done by the lovely Tanisha Vernikar, and the podcast was edited by me, and I also made our theme music. Join us next time to hear us two baddies break down. Mm-hmm. We're doing a double feature, folks. We're breaking down Thank Goodness You're Here, which is the next game from the same studio that did Untitled Goose Game. And we are playing a new one that's pretty buzzy and also funny called Tactical Breach Wizards. So we're having a little comedy duo for the next episode.
Yeah, I'm excited. I need some light comedy fun. I think it'll be a good time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately or fortunately, I literally just this week finished Thank Goodness You're Here. So
perfect timing.
I'm already ahead of
I bought it too.
Time.
I almost started it, but I needed to finish Lorelei first. So
yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, y'all.
Bye.